Alright, so we might have just seen a couple of leaks which suggest that an Xbox Developer Direct is taking place later this month. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about these potential leaks, and also engage in a bit of speculation as to the kinds of games we might see announced at this event if it actually does take place. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new, and consider supporting me either on Patreon or YouTube memberships. Those are linked in the description below. And a big shout out to our existing Paladin, Sentinel, and Elder members, including Maytails, Daniel Davis, Kalina, and also Squid of Cheeses. So let's start off talking about Xbox's Developer Direct of last year. It took place in January, and at that event, Xbox talked about Redfall, they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, we saw Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, and also the reveal of ESO Necrom. I really liked this event, mind you. I thought it was really nice, concise, to the point, and it was just a great starting point for Xbox's 2023. They really needed it at the time, mind you, but they focused on some key first-party titles for them, especially Hi-Fi Rush. That was awesome. ESO's obviously a moneymaker for Bethesda, but now Microsoft. Forza Motorsport as well, Minecraft Legends. Redfall didn't turn out so well, but I still think the concept, the idea of the event, I thought the presentation, the style, the tone was all top notch. So chances are, especially because of everyone's great feedback for that event, chances are they're probably going to have one. You don't need someone telling you with insider knowledge or leaking information. You don't need someone telling you that an Xbox Developer Direct is probably going to take place again. And chances are, probably going to be in the same month as last year, right? This is how these things go. But we do have two potential leaks here, and of course, take everything with a grain of salt. You don't know who is saying what on the internet, but I will say the first one of these leaks is a little bit more credible to me because there's actually two different sources which confirm the same thing. The second one is a little less believable to me. Like, I don't know what the track record of the leaker involved is. So let's start off with the first one because I think it's confirming what everyone is expecting anyways, and then we'll talk about the second one. So first of all, there is a user known as Xantorn on Reddit. Xantorn has a bit of a history of correctly revealing the dates of upcoming video game events. So there are two different Nintendo Directs in June and September of last year, and this person correctly revealed the dates for them. And then there was a Sony State of Play, also in September of last year. And again, this person correctly revealed the announcement and the existence of that event, right? So this person with a bit of a track record of correctly revealing these events has now come out with a new post about Xbox. Hasn't correctly revealed anything about Xbox, but has done so with Nintendo and has done so now and with Sony, so might do so now with Xbox. They titled this post, quote, Xbox Direct will be held the week of January 14th. They go on to say, first Xbox event of the year is going to be the week of the 14th. Can't speak on the shadow drop rumors, and I'll talk about that in a second, but the date has now been set in stone, end quote. I don't know who the hell this person is. How do you have insider knowledge about Nintendo's events and PlayStation events and now Xbox's events? This guy must be really high up or is just incredibly lucky at guessing things. But I doubt it. Like, I'm leaning towards a lot of other people as well. But I'm leaning towards believing this person because you can go to their Reddit user like profile. I'll link it in the description below. They clearly have the track record. And yeah, like, again, it's probably going to be taking place anyways. But we also have a second source, as I mentioned. So there is another article from Insider Gaming, also linked in the description below. And they were talking about this Reddit user's post. And they said the following, right? They say, quote, while we can't confirm the exact date and time just yet, Insider Gaming also understands that an event is scheduled to take place within the next couple of weeks, further adding credence to the rumors, end quote. So not only do you have this Reddit user with a history of correctly predicting these kinds of things, but you also have Insider Gaming, which is also a well-known website with a history of leaking insider information and correctly revealing things. You have these two different sources confirming that this event is taking place this month, right? And likely or possibly in the week of January 14th. So I think we can assume, it's a safe assumption, whether you had these leaks or not, but with them, I think it's a safe assumption that we will see the Developer Direct later this month, and maybe in the week of the 14th of January. But let's talk about this second leak. This is the shadow drop rumor that Reddit user was referring to. It comes from a Spanish YouTuber on Twitter known as Extras First V. I might have butchered that, but this is a YouTuber that I don't know if they have a track record of announcing stuff. That's why I'm a little less believable and confident of this leak. But they've come out with the following tweet, which says, and it was in Spanish originally, so forgive the bad translation, but it said the following: Xbox is setting the stage for a new Developer Direct event following in the footsteps of the successful start of 2023. At this upcoming event, expect fascinating presentations with news about the titles already announced, giving players a look behind the curtain of some of the most anticipated projects like Hellblade, Towerbone, etc. But here comes the main dish. I am told that during this event, we could witness a new shadow drop or surprise release, with the game being available at the same event or even several weeks later. It may not be exactly the same as Hi-Fi Rush, as the Hi-Fi Rush case, but we would have something very similar from a game with a close release date, end quote. So, who the hell knows whether you believe this person or not? Like, of course it's going to be a surprise of some sort. Like, these events always have surprises. Like, there's always at least one surprise. Everyone loves surprises. So predicting that there's going to be a surprise is not saying much. But saying that you have inside knowledge, that you've been told that there's a shadow drop, is a little different. Like, shadow drops are very specific. They're hard to do. It is hard to keep close to your chest all that knowledge about a game and coordinate this huge global release at the same time as an event like this. It's so hard to coordinate a shadow drop without anybody finding out, especially with a company like Xbox that has had its fair share of leaks and history of leaks in the past. So I'm not believing it just because of that reason. Like, anyone again can come out and say there's going to be a shadow drop. And then if it turns out there's a shadow drop, you can be like, I'm right. And if there's not a shadow drop, you can be like, well, plans changed. You never know. I'm less convinced of this one. But of course we're going to have a surprise of some kind. I'd be surprised if we didn't have a surprise. But a shadow drop, I don't know. I'm a little less convinced of that. Like, Hi-Fi Rush would have taken so much effort to coordinate. But anyways, let's get into the games which we might actually see at a potential event like this. Now, I have a few assumptions that I kind of want to lay out for you. Based on the previous event and the kinds of titles that were released, I think there are a few assumptions that we can make to help guide us in our speculation when it comes to these games. So first of all, I do believe the size and the length of this event is probably going to be similar as the first one, anywhere from 40, maybe up to an hour long if they have some more titles in there. And I think that also means we're going to have anywhere from 4 to 6 games or reveals. I don't think they're all going to be brand new standalone games, right? I think there might be some DLC thrown in there. I think there might be, actually, there's going to be a lot of release date announcements, and I'll talk about that in a second. But anywhere from 4 to 6 reveals. Whatever else, like whatever they are, they could be a big game, they could be a DLC, a Game Pass announcement. 4 to 6, I think, is a safe bet. Also, as well, we need to assume that Xbox is probably going to have a game showcase later this year. They always have some sort of game showcase coinciding with what used to be E3 time. May it rest in peace. Oh man, I miss E3. But yeah, they're probably going to have a game showcase 2024. So you need to space things out. You can't blow your load now and announce everything now because you're going to have nothing to talk about later this year. Plus, as well, because of that, I think we're going to have to expect that a lot of the titles talked about at this potential Developer Direct are probably titles coming in the first half of 2024, because you get those out of the way, they're the most immediate, and then you have your game showcase to focus on the rest of 2024, and then beyond that potentially as well. That's pretty much what they did last year, right? So history serves us best. Let's just assume that, yeah, probably going to be just talking about games coming in the first half of this year, but there might be exceptions to that. Also, as well, I think we're likely just going to see first-party IP talked about here and no partner games. So whereas at an Xbox game showcase, you have both first-party IP announcements and partner games, I think this one is just going to be almost all first-party IP. There is one exception that I have that I want to throw in there to kind of test the waters a little bit, but I think the rest of them are probably just going to be first-party IP, especially because it's called the Xbox Developer Direct. That implies to me that it's just about Xbox developers, whereas the Xbox Game Showcase, again, implies to me that it's just about Xbox games, whether they're made by Xbox developers or our partner developers, right? That's just the sense that I get. And all the releases, all the announcements in last year's Developer Direct were first-party IP, right? So I also think that's a good assumption to make, but I will talk about that exception in a bit. So first of all, let's start off with Avowed. I think it is almost a certainty that we see Avowed talked about and showcased at this event. We know that Avowed's coming out in 2024. They confirmed this in the game showcase of last year. They also showed the gameplay trailer. We also know it's coming out on Xbox Series X and S, PC, Game Pass. I think it's like, I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked if we did not see Avowed at this event, right? And I think very specifically, they are going to give us an actual release date, not even just a window, but an actual release date. It is beyond time that we knew when Avowed's actually coming out. We've known about this game forever. We've seen all these trailers. Like, come on, it's time. It's time to tell us when Avowed's coming because I'm excited for it. The next title that I think is likely, and very likely in fact, is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Again, they confirmed a 2024 release date in the game showcase of last year. It's in the freaking title, so it's gonna come this year. Probably gonna get a gameplay trailer, probably a specific release set as well. Again, I can't imagine they do a window. It'd be very odd with any of these titles, if you're focusing like on titles coming out in the first half of the year, to say that it's Q2 2024. Like, if you don't know now, it's like within 6 months. I don't know. I think it's most likely that with whatever we see, that we're probably going to get release dates, like actual release dates for most of them. But I could be wrong about that. We'll see. The next title that I think is very likely, and very likely we get an actual release date for, is Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. We have known about this game for so damn long. It was announced all the way back in 2019. We got even a gameplay segment both at the game showcase last year and even a trailer at the Game Awards in December. You know what? I was actually very surprised we didn't get a release date announcement at that Game Awards show. That shocked me. The only reason that I can think of is that Xbox gave them the heads up and were like, hey, we got this upcoming developer direct. You're going to be one of the stars of the show. Can you save and hold back that release date announcement for that show? Because we want you to be a bigger part of it. That's the only reason I could assume, right? But then why show your game at the Game Awards if you want to kind of like make a bigger impact at the developer direct? Why not do it there? I don't know. Maybe they wanted to have that cake and eat it too. If they had the opportunity to be at the Game Awards and the opportunity to be at the developer direct, why the hell not? Why the hell not do that? And you got your release date still held back and you can do it, and then everyone gets excited. So very likely that we see Hellblade and probably more gameplay. We've already seen a ton of that game, but I think we get some sort of, even if it's just like a simple release date announcement trailer, we're going to see Hellblade 2. And I think the last title that is very likely that we'll see is Towerbone. Xbox also confirmed that Towerborn's coming out this year in 2024. They confirmed that again at the game showcase last year. Probably a gameplay trailer, probably a release date announcement. And I think it's actually going to be a specific release date announcement. But let's move on to the games that I think are a little bit less likely. Not to say that I don't think they will be there, but I think they're way less likely than these other titles. The first is South of Midnight. So this is by Compulsion Games, and this was again announced in the showcase of last year. There was that kind of like CGI style trailer. I thought it looked pretty cool, but there was no hard release date. So whereas the titles that I just talked about all were confirmed to be releasing this year, this title did not have any kind of release date, any kind of release window to suggest that it's even coming out remotely in this year. We have no idea, right? The only reason why I think we might see it is because Compulsion Games hasn't released a game since 2018. So what have they been doing since then? I think 6 years, right? Or almost 6 years. I think it's actually a nice release date cadence or a cadence to have your release date this year. So that's why I'm leaning more towards South of Midnight potentially being there, but I'm not 100% convinced. But again, if we do see it, gameplay trailer, release date, maybe even just a window for that game. If they're less likely, maybe just a window for that game. But something that I think is even less likely, unfortunately, because I thought it looked cool, is Clockwork Revolution by inXile. This was the Bioshock Infinite looking game. It looked so damn good. I want to see so much more. I really wish it's part of this developer direct, but it's not going to be, in my opinion. I think it's very unlikely because, again, not only did they not confirm a release date or release window or year of this year like they did with every other game at the game showcase last year, but inXile, I talked about Compulsion Games not having released a title since 2018. inXile hasn't released a game since 2020, which is more recent, 2 years more recent than that. So if South of Midnight is a little unlikely, Clockwork Revolution by that math is even more unlikely. I don't know if we're going to see Clockwork Revolution. I think it's more of a chance that we see it at the game showcase, if it's taking place, of course, later this year. But let's talk about that one exception to the rule or the assumption that I set that we are only going to see first-party IP. I think there's a chance, small chance, but I think there's a chance that we see Stalker 2. Because we know that Stalker 2 is going to be an Xbox exclusive for a little bit. I'll talk about that in a second, but maybe we see a Stalker 2. I don't know. First of all, let me go into the storied history of this game's development, because this is the biggest example of development hell that you could possibly kind of look for. If you looked in the dictionary for development hell, Stalker 2 would be the first example. This game has gone through absolute hell, and I'm shocked that it's still a thing. Genuinely, I am. So this was announced back in 2010, originally with a 2012 release date, right? Then GSC Game World behind the game was dissolved in 2011 due to money issues. They were then reformed in 2014 to develop Cossacks 3. They did develop that. And then they announced Stalker 2 back in 2018 on their Facebook page, saying we revived the game essentially. There was then a gameplay trailer at the Microsoft E3 press conference of 2021. We're still talking years ago now. And the title was confirmed at that stage to come to Xbox, Game Pass, and PC. But they very specifically said it was also going to be console exclusive to Xbox. But then, if you remember the Epic Games and Apple court case back in 2021, somehow there were documents about Stalker 2 in there, which confirmed that Stalker 2 is only going to be potentially a timed exclusive of 3 months for Xbox. So eventually it might actually come to PlayStation. And then they finally announced the release date of April 2022. We're not to the current year yet. But then unfortunately, the Russian-Ukrainian war started in February 2022. If you don't know, GSC is based in Kyiv, Ukraine, and they understandably announced that Stalker 2's development is indefinitely paused, right? So somehow they do say that development of the game continued from at least June 2022, and they did relocate development to Prague in the Czech Republic. So thankfully they were able to do that. They had the money where they could do that, because that would not have been cheap. And then finally, as I referenced before, in December 2023 at the PC Gaming Show, GSC revealed that the game is in the final phase of its development and is having a Q1 2024 release, and they also had a story trailer there. So we know this game is coming out in Q1 2024. Really, there is going to be no other event to actually properly announce specific release date for this game other than this developer direct. This would be the best time, and if it is going to be an exclusive, even if it's a timed exclusive for Xbox, that's why I think there's a chance that Stalker 2 might actually be at this developer direct. But again, because it's an Xbox developer direct and they're not actually a first-party studio, or this is not a first-party IP even, I don't know. I'm really uncertain. I would love to see Stalker 2, but let me know what you think in the comments below. And then another title that I think is even less likely is Fable. We saw Fable again announced by Playground Games at the Game Showcase of last year. There was a teaser trailer, but unfortunately no hard release date. I think this is so unlikely. Like Playground Games just released Forza Horizon 5 back in 2021. That was not that long ago, and to develop a huge open world action RPG like Fable is clearly going to be, you're going to need more than that. You're going to need more than that. I'd be surprised if this game even came out this year. Maybe we might see a further trailer or gameplay of some sort at the Game Showcase later this year, and they confirm either a very late 2024 release, but more likely, in my opinion, 2025. And then finally, finally, let's talk about this potential Shadow Drop game or surprise announcement. It could be anything. Like, if this is a true Shadow Drop or a true surprise announcement, you and I aren't going to know about it. No one's going to know about it. But some people have a bit of speculation, a bit of a thought that this could be one of Double Fine's unannounced projects. So Double Fine released Psychonauts 2 back in 2021, and they had a making of documentary where they revealed they're actually working on 2 unannounced projects in addition to Psychonauts 2. And rumors suggest one of those is Project Killin, because Microsoft has actually filed a trademark registration for Killin in October of 2022. And Killin is an IP, if you want to call it that, but it's a title that has popped up in Double Fine's history in the past. So in 2017, they held this Amnesia Fortnite charity event, and there was a prototype multiplayer team-based brawler called Killin as part of that. So people are like, maybe they're reviving Killin. Maybe Microsoft has registered this trademark because they have an intention to use it. In fact, legally, you need to have an intention to use a trademark to register it and also to renew that registration. So people think that Killin could be again, this shadow drop, or at least a surprise announcement. It might not be a shadow drop necessarily, but maybe they come out and say, hey, Double Fine, we've got this cool project. It's going to be coming out sometime this year. Maybe. But it could be anything else. Like, we're just speculating here. And then it could also be any one of these other things that I'm about to list too. And I'll go through these quickly. I know that it's been a long video. But some people suggested it could be the Oblivion or Fallout 3 remaster. I really doubt it. Like, BGS is super busy with Starfield. And they also need to release Fallout 4 Next Gen, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I doubt Oblivion or Fallout 3, even if they're still being made, potentially, because they were leaked supposedly. Even if they're still a thing, definitely not at this developer direct. We might actually see, though, the DLC Shattered Space for Starfield. That actually is a good shout. We might also have like a general roadmap video of Starfield's plans for this year, because we know, if you didn't find out, Starfield's going to have updates every 6 weeks starting in February. So heck, a developer direct in January, great opportunity to talk about what's coming. So I think there's actually a good shout that we see Starfield. Plus it was Xbox's literally their biggest title of last year. Might still actually be their biggest title this year in terms of player numbers. So for sure, I think Starfield's actually a good shout. The Fallout 4 Next Gen update, I don't think it's likely that we see even a trailer for this, because yes, it's a good opportunity. Yes, it's definitely coming this year. Bethesda confirmed that, and they delayed it from last year, so I don't think it's getting pushed back to 2025, especially because we have the Fallout TV show. But I think it's more likely because they literally just said it's being delayed to this year. They just talked about it. I think they need a little bit more time to create a trailer. It takes a lot of time to create a trailer, a lot of resources, and they're busy with Starfield. They've started production on Elder Scrolls 6. They're a busy studio. I can't imagine they're going to be a part of this. I think they need a few more months, probably until April when the Fallout TV show comes out. Then they have an announcement. Then, you know, they do something coinciding with a TV show. Maybe they team up and do a joint announcement. Fallout TV show, here's the first episode. Here's the last trailer. And you can play Fallout 4 Next Gen as well once you're done with the show. I think that's more likely. They might actually do its own event maybe. I mean, who really knows? Also as well, more announcements for Game Pass, and specifically Activision Blizzard games. The acquisition is done finally. Phil Spencer did say that there will be Activision Blizzard games coming to Game Pass starting in 2024. And I don't think it's going to be, I think he did imply it's going to be drip fed a little bit and segmented a little bit. So maybe we see the first wave of Game Pass announcements for Activision Blizzard titles. I think that's the best way for them to do it. One, because it takes time to get a title to Game Pass. But two, it's a nice, like, it gives them a nice cadence. Like every big event that they have, every developer direct, every showcase, they announce a new Activision Blizzard game coming to Game Pass. I think that's a way better way to do it. So I can see why Phil Spencer suggested that. So I think there's a chance that we might actually see some sort of announcement for that. Any kind of Game Pass announcement, I think, is always a good shout. But then potentially, the last thing that we'll talk about today is the Gears of War Trilogy Remaster Collection that's been rumored. From what I could see, that is still only a rumor at this stage. There was even I think it was an Xbox employee. I'll try and find it, but there was an Xbox employee which shot down this rumor when it first came up. So I don't know how believable it is, and because of that, I doubt it's going to be part of this show. But anyways, Wastelanders, everyone, that is all from me. This has been my first general Xbox video for a long time. Let me know how I did in the comments below. I'm trying to diversify and spread my content, spread my wings. And until next time, this has been Alone. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.